following video will be an analysis of this image as compared to a different image. I'm going to be comparing just the visual elements in it as best I can. Someone took this image somewhere in the world, it's an English-speaking country apparently, and they went to the trouble of getting this image lined up as good as they possibly could and aren't giving us the location. So let's analyze the image, and I'm going to be doing some things like making it and another image fit each other, and then I'm going to give an opinion. I'm not going to sit here and do hard analysis, which a few people have made fun of me for, and then didn't give credit for the image they were making fun of. But let's move on. Here is our image, and it's supposed to be related to the backrooms. Now, I'm going to agree with everybody. So many things in this image really do match very, very closely. But it's not the same area. It's not the same perspective. It's not the same doorway. So immediately pause the video, start complaining in the comment section, get it out of your system, okay? Here's the image we're looking for. This is anything from, year 2000 abouts forward or backward. We don't know any details about it except for what we can get here. But in a previous video, which again, I did a diagram of and I've gotten made fun of because of the quote unquote, being a real persnickety person about it. This is a North American 3-conductor power outlet duplex plugger. And it's a type A or B or whatever. And measuring its size for the plug and the size for the plate, which are just standardized in the United States and everywhere else the plates are sold, I was able to figure out that this distance from here to here is a very, very large opening. It's a very wide doorway, which would explain its kind of a squat appearance. But then again, the person could have been taking a forced perspective image of it. I also pointed out that there seems to be a rotation of this wallpaper at the top, which indicates that this may be the 6 or 7 foot mark up here. And that kind of matched up. Now we're going to go from that and just analyze just the ratio of how wide it is from this edge on the outside surface of the door opening to this one versus its height, and then take it in. First thing we do is we try to straighten it up a little bit. I'm doing a -4-degree rotation to be a compromise that's as close to the other image we're looking at from over here as possible. Trust me, it'll get better. Now I'm going to be cropping and shifting. So we get this. We have this relatively well centered, and that's going to be very important. And then when I switch to the image over here, I rotated it by -2 degrees for 2 reasons. We're going to hover over this, and I'm going to shift to the other image. I got that corner to match up. Now I'm matching it up not by what's visible there, but by this line here for the wall going there, so that it will line up as much as possible to there. Now, what do we get out of this? Number one, obviously I'm really bad at photoshopping. I don't try to be good at it. I'm just doing that to just make it to where it's not as much of a distraction, but I'm going to point that out. By the way, I did a pretty good job with that part. But anyway, let's move on. Let's look at this edge here and see if it lines up. And it lines up well enough. It's not perfect. And then on this edge, we can try checking the line up. And again, it's not perfect. So we kind of want to maybe unzoom this a little. So I'm going to go unzoom. Nope, can't. So we're kind of stuck with this ratio unless I sit here and do a really perfect fit. So what's the first couple of things? Number one, you can see from the wall here, even if you ignore the moldings, which will be on the front and the back, the part of this wall we can see that's the actual end of the wall. It has another piece of board on it, by the way. It's fairly thick. When we look at this one, it's thinner. Now that can be the angle. We can use that. We can say that it's using the angle. One of the things that you might want to make note of is there's 1, 2, 3, some odd number of walls behind this. And the angle this picture was taken at, we can see the other walls that were probably lining up at exactly 90 degrees to it. So we're looking almost exactly in a line at these walls. Back here, we're almost, but not quite at the same angle. We're actually turned a little bit more into the doorway. Instead of lining up in a nice straight line where we'd be over here, we're over here 3/4 or 1/3 or something, 1/4 or 1/3 to the left of that center line. Okay? So that means that when we look at it, we should see this being thinner. This should not be as visible and broad. It shouldn't be. What that means is In this image here, we're further back from the doorway because the wall thicknesses are going to be to a standard for making walls. There'll be 2x4s with cladding on each side to make a wall, particle board or maybe plywood. Same thing here. Now you could decide that these are just 2x4s, but that thickness difference is much bigger. Next, again, by doing this calculation, this is an extremely wide doorway. When we look here, yes, I lined it up for what people keep referring erroneously to as a tear. It's not a tear. When I line up everything as good as I can get it by doing all this work, this doorway we're seeing in this room here is significantly smaller because we can look at this bedside table. We can look at the chair. This doorway is not, 5 feet wide to accommodate a shipping pallet, okay? This is a furniture store, and it has to be able to pass large furniture. But if you're not aware of this, in the United States and most other countries, furniture for domestic use is made to fit through standard doorways. Even if you have to take that sofa and tip it on its side, it's supposed to be able to fit through by hook or crook. It can't exceed certain dimensions. You have to be able to jam fit it through a doorway. So they don't actually have to have a bigger doorway, but they do here. It is much wider, but it's not as wide as this doorway. Now, is that a really significant thing? Okay. The reason this image is being brought up, and I'll just go back to the original, it has significantly similar lighting spacing, but the sprinkler's in the wrong position, and there's more of them, and they're very clearly visible. In the original here, we can see one clearly, and it's almost right on the metal strip that's holding the tiles in the ceiling. These are significantly different positions. It's almost an identical ceiling. Okay, and yes, it has almost everything the same, but there is no light over here, there is one here. Okay, changes over time, fine. We're missing an air register. There's an air register right there. The air register here, which we can zoom in on because this is a high-res image, has no evidence of being there. Meanwhile, we have 3 things that look like air registers, people point out. But, yeah, that's a bit odd. Okay, now we're going to do the basic here. This is a very deep room compared to this wall and to all these dimensions. This one is a much more shallow room. This here is a pillar. You never ever lose retail space to a pillar if you can get rid of it. And here, the pillar is buried in this wall section, and there's no pillar back here. Unless somebody was doing seismic upgrades, which means it would be California, this is a different room. It's a different building, and except for most of this matching up so close it's tantalizing, it's not the same room. Therefore, again, well, there's so many things similar. Yes, but is it the same room? On the whole, it's a different location. On the whole, the doorway's the wrong width. On the whole, it shows beading and stuff. People have been using this for a long time. I don't think they go through the effort of skinnying up a doorway so they could then make a furniture place out of it. And this is more of a thoroughfaring kind of area. Anyway, again, because these walls line up, and yes, the walls do line up if you do forced perspective and vanishing point checks, which I did on another video. This cameraman is lining the camera up with this. This is actually would be visually the center, except they're turning the camera to the left. This one is significantly further towards the middle of the doorway. Again, this has a very skinny profile. This is fatter, even though it should be skinnier if it's the same doorway. By lining them up and getting the ratios as close as possible this way, only after I did that have I come to the conclusion it's not a location that is related to the original image at all. This was a significant amount of fiddling around with the images. I tried to show you as much as possible that I did a negative 4 degree rotation on this one and cropped it to center it to match this as good as I could. And then I rotated this the teensiest amount I could get away with. It ended up being negative 2 degrees approximately, I think. It's not the same room, and there's no reason to use this as a basis. It's not the source for the image. This pillar is in the wrong location. You wouldn't add a pillar unless it's a seismic upgrade, at which point we have too many changes and too many differences to say it's the same location at all. Now, on top of that, I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room. The person who found the image won't let anybody go double check it because they won't give out the information. This is a closing sale. The people who run this business are going out of business and leaving. The only thing you're going to tick off is a landowner. That would be the worst case. Somebody owns a building. Some conglomerate owns it. Maybe some small bit, maybe a family business. I don't know. The point is not being given the information and then the person deleting the original. I can't find the original. I have to go dig it up from some back alley on the internet. Yeah. Anyway, to review. This image has too many differences from the original to be able to be the same location due to perspective, thickness, etc., making this not the same width. It's very close, but that's by ratio, not by actual dimensions. And the pillar being there instead of being here, that says it's a different location. The sprinklers are in the wrong position. That says it's a different location. The things that make it look so similar disappear when you compare them to each other and on the whole. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. My conclusion is it's not a related image or location until otherwise proven. Good day.